Hello and welcome to our world tour. So this server was with some real life friends. It's called the Mudman server. We played through pretty much all the tech tree. It's mostly vanilla. We did have the improved ruins mod enabled. But it was our first experience playing Vintage Story, and we had a huge amount of fun. It's kind of petered down now. People aren't really playing on the server as much. So I figured for historical reasons, um, so we could look on it later. I'd record the server and do a little tour so we have a record of it. And I also thought it'd be a fun thing to share with the vintage story community because there's not a huge amount of content for this game, and you can't really go out and see too many creations yet. It's pretty new, it's pretty niche. And I figured why not share a bit of what we made and let the community see what people are doing with this game, which I thought would be cool. So our village was a little commune. It's currently winter. I think it's year 4. So we haven't played like a vast amount of time on this world, but we've completed the tech tree and we've pretty much done most of what was available at the time. I think we haven't done the Resonance archive yet, but other than that, we've pretty much seen it all. We had a huge amount of fun. It was a great time. And I'll give you a tour, starting with my room. So you'll see the rest of the house in a minute, but I basically built the house for everyone to share, and each person has an individual room. This one's mine. It contains some mementos, mostly clothing and stuff I've looted from dungeons, some old tools, a painting that I like, some books I found. The first thing I ever made with chiseling is this little bedside table, which I'm quite proud of. Moving out, we have a landing, which overlooks the living room, which we'll get to in a minute. There's a little bit of a view out there of the rest of the village, and you can see the roof is actually quite high, and there's a bit of an attic space we'll look at in a sec. So there's the stairs down and access to the attic. In here is, I guess I won't say real life names to protect the innocent and the guilty alike. This is one of our people's rooms. I don't know what she has really got around in here, but that's her room. Other person's room. This is our, I guess for background, this was our animal husbandry farmer type of character and very helpful. Unfortunately, no one's around to really jump in on the video. It's just me. Like I said, interest is petered down. That's her room. This is our kind of hunter, gatherer, archer fellow's room. He's got some stuff. I think this might be the first quern we made. I think he made it. I'm not 100% sure. A bit more of a view of the village, which we'll get to in a sec. And I'll jump up to the attic. The attic has our kind of long-term storage. Mostly things we don't really need every day. We just kind of dump stuff up here. And it's a nice little space, making use of some of the roof. Put that together. And most of the bedrooms have access to it for reasons I'm not fully sure about. Nice poster someone found. Come back here. So this is the main stairwell, heads down into the basement, and the back door, which goes out there, which we'll look at in a moment. This is the sunroom, which was used on and off by a couple of people who were in the process of building their houses. I'm not sure if anyone was staying here last time we left playing, but it's just like a nice little sunroom area. Over here is my favorite room in the house, I think, is the kitchen. It's nice and big and open. The chandelier, which is relatively new, probably doesn't really fit the decor super well, but I like it nonetheless. I've got plenty of ovens, a nice little cooking space where you can cook underneath the bench. Unfortunately, you can't put stuff on top of here because, you know, the block system, but it's a nice little system. Here's a bench top. I made this bench top as well. This is like one of the early things I carved. Water source for cooking, some shelving for food, and a table to eat around. There's some junk on the floor here because this is stuff that we found on adventures, and it kind of just got dumped here because we haven't had really time to go through the loot that we found exploring stuff. There's a chicken in the fireplace at the moment. That's exciting. Normally this hallway is clear aside from the paintings. And here's the pantry, which I think is really cute. And this is actually functional because it's fully sealed. It does work as I think it's what's the word? A cellar? I'm not sure what the word is off the top of my head, but it preserves the food better because it's enclosed. It's not as good as a properly underground space, which is the cellar, which we'll look at in a minute. But it's nice and cute. Here's a storage trunk, a bunch of our books, and a second kind of. Oh, someone's changed this. This was for food storage as well, but I guess someone's putting liquid in there. The fireplace, some nice props, etc. Bit more storage. This is the music section. Really excited for the scroll racks in the future version, where we'll be able to like visually have them. And everyone's shoes and equipment left by the door, which is very cute. Don't track the snow or the mud in the house. We'll go down to the cellar now. Take a look. Yeah, this got redone. So there's an alternate entrance to the cellar from the outside, which is contentious, but we won't talk about it. Here's the underground cellar, which is where all the magic happens. There's cheese making, which is new. Last time I was on the server, it wasn't here. It's just generally our, well, I guess construction is ongoing in here a bit as well. But this is mostly where our brewing and our cheese making and our fermentation, pickling, etc. all happens down here and is stored here for the long term. Here's the fruit press. I believe, yeah, there's a bit of honey. I'm sure there's some alcohol lying around somewhere. Some grain. Long-term storage under the house. If we go a bit further down, yeah, this is the brewing section. Oh no, this is the pickling section, or even the meat curing section. So there's some meat curing and brine. Usually there'd be pickles, but like I said, people have petered down, so not so many people playing on the server, so these areas are a bit less used. But this is where most of our food was preserved and kept. Random seashell there for you. Only the deep, dark levels of the dungeon. We have a nice little ice room, which is backlit by some stuff, which was a cute touch. Actually, the lantern's here. It was backlit. This is like kind of a roleplay, kind of fridgy area. The ice doesn't really do anything, but it's nice. We went on adventures north to the glaciers to back some of this stuff, and I think we used it nicely. Here's the brewing section, the distillery, which we used a bit. Unfortunately, distilled alcohol isn't really that useful in Vintage Story yet. It doesn't really have much of a niche better than, regular alcohol or fruit juice, but hoping for future patches to get more. Yeah. Oh, wow. There's a lot more in here than last time I checked. This is the bookmaking section. I'm dying, I suppose. I'm not 100% sure why we built it deep underground. There's no reason to have bookmaking and dyers deep underground, but it's a nice little space. So it's under the house. Heading back up. Start exploring the village proper. Oops. I am lost. I'll take us out the front door of the house because that's the nicer way to go. There's also a back door into the kitchen. Oh, Mr. Chicken. So this is the house from the outside. It's kind of a standard kind of plaster wood frame type of deal. There's the entrance to the basement, some extra storage, a pear tree, and the back side of the house. I have a minor regret. I designed the house myself a while ago. And I have a minor regret, and that's that the back side of the house looks more interesting than the other sides. I actually quite like this side. We got some berry bushes here as well. And here's the other side of the house. Overall, I'm really happy with how the house turned out. I think it was like a very homely space. Everyone was using the kitchen, which is nice. One of the great features about Vintage Story I really loved was how much you actually care about your spaces. Like, all this is functional. Like, this tool rack is useful. These shelves are useful. These cooking pots are useful. This pantry is useful. Putting all your stuff down here is useful. It's great. That's the main house. We have a nice little water feature here. I believe there might be a secret thing underneath. Oh, there was, I think. It might still be there. I'm not going to dig it up, but also our seashells are in here for some reason. Seashells were a bit of a meme on the server for a long time, so I guess this is where they all ended up. This is the general kind of functional storage structure. So this has all our tools, um, all our tool racks, spare items, etc. Useful things to have on us at all times. And our stockpile of stone is in here. And I believe up here, yeah, here's the ladder. I believe up here is kind of finger quote junk storage, which is where we put like the kind of broken roleplay items that you might want in your builds. So like broken materials that you find in the ruins across the map, and some cool views outside and chiseling. Nice little simple one. Got a bit of peat here. And yeah, that's the storage. A bit more storage out the side. I guess organic materials live out here, and I think there was a plan to extend the roof, but that's where we're at. Over here, as you can probably tell, are the bees. I do like winter in the village, but the bees aren't as pretty in winter. In spring, it's quite nice out here with all the flowers and such. Um, Bees were pretty early on, so they're not super expanded. It's definitely work that could be done to make the beehive section a bit larger, but it's also fairly industrial, as you can see, and it's pretty good. So that's the bees. Beyond this railing, you can see the death pit. Take a quick squiz at that. The death pit was just kind of a general kind of space that goes down all the way to zero, actually. And it's notable because animals just kind of fell in it all of the time. It was an early source of animal carcasses for us and bones early on. There's a tree down there, which I'm a fan of, that generated naturally, and I'm not going to go down there because there's not a huge amount to see, but you can see that there's a full pathway that takes you down all the way to the kind of bedrock. And it was a bit of a quarry for us when we needed stone locally sourced for the... So that's the main town square. There used to be... This is litter. Not just any litter though, it's litter that I made. I'll just leave it. This is meant to be kind of an open space. There's just some... I was experimenting with chiseling, I think, and left a bit of a mess here. But that's the main town square. Back here is the smeltery. So this is where we process our steel. Got a bit of a stockpile of coal and some other materials. Useful for keeping the kilns running. And a little bit of wooden boards to prevent the snow from getting in the way. Keep your grip. Make sure you don't slip over in the foundry. Actually, I'll come back to this. I'll come back to this section. Back in there is kind of the wizard tower, as we've called it, which is the main forging facility. We'll take a look at that in a moment. Duck back out of the forge. Here's the pottery. This is kind of a historic building in the village. It started off made of not mud brick, but rather cheap. I think it was cobblestone. And it was where we did all of our clay work early in the game. It was kind of the first building we ever made. I guess the house technically might have been first. Originally, it was like some gravel, cobblestone, just kind of in a square with a campfire in the middle. So eventually, it got reworked into this much nicer thing. But the pottery was like one of the most important early game structures. And it was relatively similar in layout to this, but this is a nice kind of visual rework we did eventually because it was showing its age. It was one of the oldest structures in the village. So we tore it down and we rebuilt it with some nicer bricks, and we did a bunch of chiseling work, so you have some extra kilns here, storage for bricks, etc. I think there's clay and fuel are in these crates, yeah. And in here is the kind of the big kiln where you can do a big batch at once. Hoping in a future Vintage Storage update we get like a larger scale kiln, because the pit kilns are cool, but it would be nice to have like a structure you could build similar to this. This is mostly for roleplay reasons. But it would be nice to have like a larger scale one to do pottery at big scale and not have to do it in a literal hole in the ground. So that's the pottery. And again, there's the berry bushes. There's a bit of a river down here slash lake. You can't really see it due to the snow, but essentially there's a... we'll come back to it in a sec, I suppose. We'll just finish this side of the lake slash river. In here is my blacksmith. I was the main blacksmith and I gave this place a lot of love and it got a lot of work. Really happy with it. This is one of the early buildings as well, so it's a bit more rustic than some of the other ones, but very functional. So we've got space down here to do our pours for ingots, a nice space for filling molds. This is the primary smelting area where I create alloys, etc. Back here was the original ground level blacksmith. It's not really used as much anymore. Um, it all migrated into the wizard tower eventually, but this was the original place, and the original anvils are still in position. There was also, I guess it's gone now, but here a drifter. Underneath the windmill, there was our original, what's it called? Our original pantry, cellar, whatever you want to call it, but it eventually was reformed into the tower you see today. Got our fruit trees over here. A bit of a coal stockpile. There was a work in progress coal shed, but I think it didn't pan out. And over here is the charcoal production, which we did a huge batch early on, and it served us well. We've been using this charcoal ever since. Uh, so heading back in, we'll do a quick tour of the wizard tower, and then I'll talk about the lake. And coming in here, back here we also have the bloomeries. So these are kind of part of the steel production. These is primarily where the bloomeries sit behind the blacksmith. And coming into here is underneath the wizard tower. And so this is kind of my storage for metalworking, and I guess a bit of glassware happens in here as well, to do with the steel, bloomeries, etc., etc. Nice little poster we found, and just like some general storage for that type of deal. On the second floor, just a small room, small bit of storage. I originally planned for this to kind of end up being like a little bit of a study space slash mini kitchen for my tower where I could store food and not have to worry about it, but never really got it finished. Here's the lower level of the wizard tower, so we're a bit below the windmill now. This is where originally I did a lot of storage, but that kind of moved down into the nicer warehouse you see on the bottom level. There's still a bit of vestigial junk lying around here in my armor sets that I never ended up tidying. Here's the main floor. It's where I did pretty much all of my smithing. There's obviously a bunch of stuff in progress. It was a full-time job turning ore into ingots of iron, into steel, etc., etc. Meteoric iron there as well. You can see a bit of a view at the side. We'll go to the top of the tower in a moment. Have a squiz at that. Some mining bags, etc. Very fond of this little space. It's nice and small and comfortable, and I have it exactly how I like it, aside from this hole in the floor. It's comfortable to work in. It's exactly the right size. Some people think it's cramped, but since I spent so much time here, it's pretty optimized for the workflow I was enjoying. Here we have a OSHA hazard, but you can actually see the view of the wild terrain behind the village. There's the bees down there, and the house, the warehouse, sorry, and the death pit. The windmill mechanism, nothing too fancy. We have a bit of roof access, mainly because it's nice. How do you sit? I'm trying to remember how to sit. Can't remember the sit button. You get a nice view of the whole village from up here, so that's why there's roof access, even though it's not super safe. This is the house, another house. This is the farm section. This is the original farm, which we'll get to, and this is the university, which was never really finished, and I'll probably just quickly show that last, because it's kind of the least interesting section. It's not really complete at all. It was kind of like the mega project to cap it off, and it just kind of never got there, so. Heading back down. Starting to freeze. Mm, quickly start a fire. We have cold weather gear actually. Give me a moment. Yeah. Should stop freezing now. Oh. It's a bit hard to tell, but this is a big frozen lake. Am I still freezing? I think I'm good. It'll be fine. This is a big frozen lake. It's a bit hard to tell during the day, but got a bit of a pier and a nice little bridge connecting it. And so the lake would feed down into this farm. This is our original farm. It's a bit defunct now and no one's really torn it down. But this is where we got our first kind of food supply from, long term. The lake continues down this way, under this bridge, and actually feeds all the way down through this canal, down into the main lake over there. Oh, big lake. Which I guess brings us to here. This is the main farm now. It's not a huge farm, but it feeds us quite well, makes plenty of food. Nice little creation here. Down here is one of our many greenhouses. You'll be seeing a lot of these. They're all pretty similar. They're just simple greenhouses to keep us fed in the colder parts of early spring and late autumn. So coming back up here, actually, one last thing on this side of the river, we have don't tell anyone about this, but this is our secret cult ritual site. This is where we do unspeakable acts in the name of our dark god. There's a nice little skull here. Bones of, I assume, small animals, but who knows, really. Anything could have happened up there. So that's this side of the river, slash lake, I suppose. Here's a nicely carved bridge by one of our players. And this is his original house. He started work on this before the main house was underway, but he never quite finished it and furnished it how he wanted it. It's a bit in a halfway state. For a long time it was a barn for animals until we got a proper barn space worked out. Coming through here, have on our left the tannery, which another one of our players made and maintained. So this is where most of our leather was produced. It's a really nice building. I'm a big fan of the kind of visual style of the roof he's done here, and again a very practical, useful space where we're just producing our tannin and producing all of our leather that we used in a small little well here. Oh, there you go. We also made our furry art inside there, so I believe this building is another. I think this is another. Yeah, this is another greenhouse. There's quite a few of them scattered around. Some nice berry bushes as well. In spring, this place lights up quite a bit. I'm kind of standing in our tree farm at the moment, which is in hibernation since it's winter. There's no real tree growth, so we won't see too much of that. I believe this is a work in progress windmill. This one is for pulverizing, yeah. Just a little one. I think it was mainly used to make fertilizer, question mark. I'm not 100% sure. This is the bigger food windmill. This was our main quern. So this is how we made our salt and our flour, etc., etc. Come up here. This little view at the side. Mechanism. Again, not the craziest, highest tech windmill you'll see in Vintage Story, but it served our needs well. Nice little windmill there. Then over here, was one of the early farms. It's a bit abandoned now. Nothing too exciting there. Down here, I believe this is another greenhouse. Stop that. Over here is the main barn. This one has chickens in it. There's also, actually no, this was the main barn. This is the original barn, but I think it's been repurposed. I haven't really seen what's up here. Chickens. Pigs somewhere. Many chickens. I guess there's probably some. I know that like animals were processed, they'd come in one end and they'd get sorted out eventually in different areas. Maybe it's based on taming. I'm not fully up to speed on how the animal farm works. Here's some pig pens. Not sure if we have any goats. There we go. Answer my own question. Some goats. It's the main barn. I'll just get a nice outdoor shot of. I really like the main barn. It's super cool. Extra layers. I like the tower at the top. Up here's like a second level. Starving to death. Don't have any food. Might head back to the house quickly after this. Can't quite access the top layer, but it's very cool. Very Valheim style building, this one. I'm a fan of this one. I think there's some storage in here. That's pretty much all of it. All of these are paved roads, by the way. It's just a bit hard to tell in the snow. Run us back to the house quickly to grab a snack. And we'll wrap up with a very brief look at the university, which is sadly unfinished. And probably, in all honesty, never to be finished. And that's okay. Just chow down on some pickled carrot. Good for the soul. Over here, filling out kind of the loop of the town, is the work in progress university, which I unfortunately did not finish. The plan was to have this large open entry hall. Could head up here, and this side would be an observatory. Hence the dome, which you'll see in a moment. This was planned to be like a classic kind of observatory style structure with a good view of the village. That's why I chose this location. Back across. Large towers and some kind of window feature, maybe stained glass or something was planned for here. Across here would be a classroom. Again, unfinished, with a nice view out of the lake. It's a bit hard to see because it's nighttime, but there's a nice little view out there. And this would be all glazed with glass, so you get this nice hallway with a wonderful view of the rest of the town. And finally up here, have the main tower, which was going to be the kind of administrative, magical research. I'm not sure. Thing silly and roleplay go up here. And from the top of the tower, you'd be able to see the whole village in all of its glory. And that's it. That is, Oh, actually, there is a library, but that, again, is not finished. Take a quick squiz at that. And here, a largish courtyard. Could lead underneath the hallway. And over here is the frame of the library, which was unfortunately never finished. Bring us back to the nicer locations in the town to wrap up. And that's our little town. We had a We had a great time with Vintage Story. It was super fun. If you have not played it, I would strongly recommend giving it a shot. It's a very interesting experience. All this was painstakingly slow to construct and build because we had to fight the elements, the animals, the drifters. Had to survive, but now we've formed this nice little community by the lake. Vintage Story. Uh, my overlay off. You can see that's the rough layout of the village. I think there were about 5 of us playing mostly throughout the lifetime of the server. We explored a huge amount of the map as well. There's huge amounts of stuff outside of the town, but most of that is just mine shafts and traders and terrain generated. So not much worth showing off out there. Uh, Thanks for watching. Before we wrap it up here, it's a wonderful game. It's a huge pleasure to play this server, and thanks to everyone who was on board and played with me. Love the gang. We did a really good job. Really proud of us. Okay, bye.